Hi everyone, in today's card tutorial I will show you how to do a cutout shaker using stamps from Lawn Fawn. So I had a shopping spree the other day and I put an image up on Instagram, asked which stamp shed should I use first, and Mummy Eye Doctor said costume party, and that was Halloween, so yes, of course I'm gonna use that one together with a whole bunch of stamps that I previously owned from Lawn Fawn to create this shaker card. So I'm going to start off stamping on some Nina Solar White. I'm not going to color on this because I personally don't like coloring with Copics on it. However, you can do that. But I'm using Memento TUXEDO black ink, which is a Copic safe. Mostly because I want to have the same black ink all over the card to get that kind of unison feeling. Then I'm hopping over to my favorite marker paper and again stamping that same jar from the How You Been stamp set. Then I'm using the candy corn add-on both to add some candy corn in the inside of the jar, but also to just stamp up a whole bunch of these little mini candy corns with their cute little faces to have in the inside of the shaker. Most of the shaker pieces in today's card are actually colored images, and even though it takes quite some time to do the coloring and then also cutting out, well, if you have the matching die you don't have to put that time to cut it out, I think it gives you a really cool kind of effect in the shaker card. So I really love making shaker cards with cut out characters in them. So to begin with, I am coloring my candy corns. I'm coloring one of each here, but I'm coloring all of them and the rest of them off camera. I'm using for grays, my toner grays, I'm just using the T2 and T0, blending out with the 0, the colorless blender, to make it a little bit more white in the middle. For the orange part I'm using YR04, YR16 and YR07, which I think is a really Halloweeny orange. It also matches with the pattern paper that I chose to use. And then I'm using a yellow, which is the Y38, Y17 and Y15, because I really like that yellow. It's not that potent and like glowy, and it also gives me a little bit of that Halloweeny feeling. So as you see here, when I'm coloring these characters, I'm trying to give them a little bit of shadow when they overlap, so it looks like they're kind of stacked on each other. Also, I did a little bit of a miss thing. I started to color the orange on the face of the guy that is upside down. However, I ended up continue coloring, and it just looks like he's a little bit embarrassed, and with that mouth it kind of added a little bit to his character, so I really don't mind. And also I filled this up with so many things that you hardly see this anyhow when the card is done, but whenever you shake it so you can see it, I do have a fully colored background for the shaker card. And I'm just really loving this yellow. I don't really love yellows, but that yellow combination I actually really do love. For the finishing part for this little jar, I am filling in the insides with some T's, the T4, T2, T0, and then a little bit of colorless 0 on the top to kind of make a little bit of dimension in it. I'm not coloring the lid because you won't see the lid when the card is added together, it's finished. So after this I'm going to color all the other parts, and I'm just coloring one of each because otherwise you would be here forever, and also you kind of see how I'm doing it. For the face, the skin, I'm using E11, E00 and E000 with some R30 for the cheeks, so very few colors. The only color that is for his hair, the black colors, because I like to have both the 100 and the T10 as the darkest. It gives me really good black, but I want the T6 to give those highlights so you actually get a little bit dimension in the black. Then I'm using the same color combinations as for the candy corn, and all the colors are listed in the description down below and also over on my blog. So after coloring him, I'm going in to do the little kind of bags of different sorts. I'm using some E40s for the toilet paper and the wooden sticks. I ended up using the V15 and not the V09 on the purple parts. And on my candy corns here, I'm just using one color because they're so small. I ended also using just one color on those other candies too. So for the candy corn, I do have the matching dies, so I'm just pulling them through my Big Shot. As I said before, I wish I had the matching die for the rest of them, but I ended up fussy cutting them. It took me half an hour, something like that. It is a little bit cozy to do it. However, when you're making videos and you want to get them out, I would have liked to have those matching dies. It might actually be something that I will start investing in when I'm buying my stamps, because this took me a little bit longer than I wanted it to take. So here's magic of video. There you have them. All of them all cut out and finished. Then I'm going over to the Nina Solar White cardstock, which I'm using because I'm having that as my card base. So the whites that I really see, like this part, I did want to have in the Nina Solar White. Just a little note, this is sped up, so I'm actually going much slower when I'm cutting, but I thought that would be tedious. I do the cutting before I do the scissor cutting, because the paper is more stable. It's much easier to get clean lines. Then I cut about a 1/16 of an inch border on both sides of this, which is going to be on the outside, on the front side of the card. You could actually stamp the lid on some silver paper or something, but I ended up leaving it white. Then I'm using the pattern paper, which is Polka in the dark, and then some matching cardstock from the Cardstock in Rainbow, also by Lawn Fawn. To kind of figuring out where I put everything, I'm actually end up stamping the yar in where the middle of the card, or a little bit higher than the middle of the card, where I wanted to have the yar. And then I'm using my craft knife again, and I'm cutting it out, cutting the hole out. I'm adding some glue. This is a glue pen by Lawn Fawn, and I bought it because I wanted to try it, and I really like it. It's very easy to put the glue on. It's got a really good tip, and it's got this really like tacky glue, so it's easy to get it to stick where you want it to stick. Then we're going in to make the shaker part. I double up my foam tape from the beginning, because then I don't have to kind of try to match all my pieces, just folding it over and then cutting it off. Then I'm cutting it in small strips because they are easier to manipulate around the yar, and then I'm just filling up that hole around it so that the pieces will be shaking good around it. I also added some on the rest of the cardstock. Then I'm doing the shaker lid. I'm just using some kind of laser transparency. I do have a similar linked in the description down below. Cutting it to the right, just using tape to put it on the back side of that. Sometimes I use double ways, but in this case, how I'm doing the shaker, I'm just filling up all of the pieces into my shaker, and then I'm just gonna add the kind of front side of the card. Here I'm taking help of a piece of card to put all the pieces in there. Excellent to turn some over, but I'm being careful, making sure that all the pieces I put there are the right side up. And to finish this off, I'm using some of these amethyst jewels by Pretty Pink Posh because they were purple and I wanted to have some more purple in my card. Lining the yar up on top of that card, filling up with the rest of the double foam tape that I had lying on my table, just around that piece of pattern paper, so that it doesn't buckle. I'm adding it to my layer of my cardstock. Both are cut out with some stitched dies. I then cut a little hole in that little bag, adding a bunch of small little candy kind of poking out of that little pumpkin bag. I'm adding this character with some tape. I actually added this first with some tape, but ended up adding some glue on the back side later. For the sentiment, I'm using the same orange cardstock with the TUXEDO black ink. The stamps, the sentiment is from the costume party stamp set, because I thought they were cute. So I'm using Trick or Treat on the outside, doing that little flagged end, adding some foam tape behind that, and then the front side of the card is finished. But there you see I'm adding some of that glue on the back side of that, so that it kind of gets stuck a little bit better, because it was peeling off. Then I'm cutting a strip of pattern paper, because I wanted to decorate the inside for once. I'm using again the same orange cardstock, adding the same sentiments from the same stamp set to spell "Have a Magical Halloween." Instead of doing a flag end, I'm just doing an angled end on the toe pieces, starting with the striped piece and then layering the cardstock on top of that. And to finish it off, I decided to use some of those pieces that I had left, that I have colored up, to just add as a little mini detail at the corner. And that was the card for today. It was super fun to create. I had a lot of fun. I always love when I'm mixing and matching different sets. It's very clean and simple, and here you see the shaker thing. I really liked how all of the things were shaking into it, and all of the things that I actually did fit into the shaker portion. And this is actually slowed down to be able to show you how the pieces really move. So this was the card for today. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you like it, please thumbs it up. Here's a couple more videos that is similar to this. If you have any questions and input, put it in the description down below. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And thank you again, and I'll see you later. Bye!